Hey gang, Captain Jim here. Rodney Sahr and my son Captain Justin, we're in the studio this morning. Hopefully you guys and gals enjoy the show. We got a lot of talk about rigging for nearshore coastal stuff for the mullet run. Also a little bit of talk with Mike Mann about Mosquito Lagoon and some offshore rigging for you so you can help catch you some more of those red snapper, snook, and redfish. So hopefully you guys and gals enjoy today's show. Hey guys and gals, welcome. It's another edition of Catch a Memory Outdoors right here on WWBC 1510 AM. We appreciate you guys and gals tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors to see what's going on up and down the east coast of Florida and all through central Florida. Hopefully everybody out there that's listening survived this last storm. I tell you what, there's a lot of devastation going on up in the Panhandle, and our friends up in Mayo at Bass Assassin and our friends at Sea Hag Marina there in Steenhatchee really took a beating. So just keep those guys in your prayers for us, and those guys and gals that are up there. Hopefully, not just them, but everybody that's up there can kind of get back to life as normal as soon as possible. Obviously, we realize that there's a lot of devastation, a lot of rebuilding that's going to have to go on. Even our friends over in Ozello and Crystal River, Gary Bartell at Ozello Keys Marina, and some of the guys over out of Plantation and stuff just really took a battering with this storm. A lot of flooding, and as you guys and gals well know out there. So we just keep those guys and gals on your minds, and hopefully they'll get back to some sense of normalcy sometime very, very soon. We appreciate you guys and gals tuning in. Like I said, if you want to get involved with the show, 321-632-1000. I'm your host, Captain Jim Ross, and we're going to do this thing that we call Catch a Memory Outdoors for the next 2 hours right here on WWBC 1510. And for those of you guys and gals that are out there in Facebook land, good morning. We appreciate you guys and gals tuning in as well. Captain Justin Ross is in the studio with me this morning. What's going on this morning, buddy?
How's it going?
Just trying to get past all of this wind and weather and get back out on the water. I'm looking forward to this coming week. One of the things that does happen is every time a storm goes by, there's a reset.
Yep.
And so here's our reset. What's happened? What's happening in the lagoon?
Where are the fish? Where's anything?
Is the mullet run still going on? Are the tarpon still beating on them? Are the snooks still happy? Did the flounder push into the inshore waters yet? I mean, there's all these questions on my mind, and I'm really excited about getting back out on the water this week. Actually, I'm supposed to be deer hunting right now in South Carolina. Well, obviously, you guys and gals out there know that South Carolina took just as big a hit just about as we did, and they've got flooding going on and no power and all kinds of stuff going on up there. So we made the decision Wednesday to not go based on the track of the storm. Looks like the right-hand side of the storm went right over. The eye wall went just to the west of where we were actually supposed to be yesterday. So I'm glad that we didn't go. Very glad we didn't go, because that would not have been much fun.
Yeah, being up in a climber wouldn't have been a whole lot of fun.
No, that tree would have been blowing around a little bit. It wouldn't have been an easy shot, that's for sure. Anyway, hopefully you guys and gals out there are all safe and didn't have too many problems. We pray that you didn't anyway. Like I said, give us a call, 321-632-1000, if you want to give us a shout here at Catch a Memory Outdoors. We would love to hear from you. So, Justin, we started off at the beginning of the week, and we had, a pretty darn good bite going.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at how well it was, based on the fact that we were kind of after the moon. But I tell you, it's definitely going to be interesting trying to get out there this week.
Yeah, the fish are in tune with that stuff way more than we are, so I'm sure that they could feel that coming. But it like you said, the beginning of this week was pretty good, especially the topwater bite, which I haven't had a very good topwater bite in a couple months. But I had a pretty decent topwater bite last week and going into the beginning of this week. So
in the lagoon or along the beach?
Yeah, in the lagoon. Yeah, just fishing around Spoil Islands and over some of the flats and anywhere that there was, a good concentration of bait. I had a pretty good topwater bite going, especially for the trout, and some redfish would come up and slam it too. And then of course you get a sail cat or two that comes up and hits your top water. But
There's no shortage of sail cats right now. That's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, we got plenty of those. But yeah. So hopefully that's still going on because I love throwing top water.
Chug bugs or chugging type baits or walk the dog style
I
baits? Or?
threw more walk the dog style baits, but I know that if you threw a popper, you'd get them too. Um, whatever your favorite popper is, as long as it wasn't too big. It seemed like I was trying to throw some, especially for the bigger jacks and stuff. I was trying to throw some of the bigger poppers, and they didn't really seem to like that. Almost like it was making too much noise for them or something, which is
Right.
weird for jacks. But they've been schooled up doing their whole, breeding thing, so they're not really in the mood to be eaten anyway.
Yeah,
But
you got to catch them at just the right time.
yeah,
There's like a period of time that there's a blitzkrieg going on.
yeah,
They're schooling, they're milling around. You throw stuff at them, and they're like, "No, it's not what I want right now."
yeah.
And sometimes even you throw a finger mullet at them, and they're just like, "No, that's not what I want right now." And but when they turn on and just start racing up and down the lagoon system, and you see the birds, working over
Following
the
them,
top,
yep.
working over the top of them, and chasing them around because they're just blowing stuff up. That's go time.
That's the time to be throwing stuff.
Yeah, running and gunning up and down the lagoon. That's a lot of fun.
Yep.
So I'm just kind of torn about what to do this week. I'm looking at that nearshore water as being the place to be. We got, the seas have calmed back down now. They're not nearly as rough as they were, and I'm sure it's going to be a little bit dirty for the next day or two. But I'm hoping by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday it starts to clean up a little bit, and the mullet are still running.
Yeah.
That's the thing. As long as the mullet are still running, we should be good.
You should be able to.
And
find
from
some.
what I understand, there's fish coming. I talked to the guys up at St. Augustine. I talked to the guys at Jacksonville, and they're all saying, "Oh, we got mullet out the yin yang up here, so don't worry, they're coming.
They're still moving."
So I just hope that they come in a good flow rate.
Yeah.
When they come in pulses, that's when it becomes difficult because one day you'll get a pulse, and let's say you run north to Playa Linda in the morning, and you're following those fish down around the Falls Cape and then down to the tip of Cape Canaveral throughout the day. The next day, those fish can be halfway to Melbourne Beach or Sebastian, and if there's not another pulse to follow, it makes it very difficult.
Well,
so you have to decide, do I go out of Canaveral and run up around the tip and look for another pulse of bait, or do I go to Sebastian and run north and then try to follow those fish as they're moving south?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's kind of frustrating with the bait situation on our beach, especially when, like you said, when it's kind of sporadic like that. It's like, okay, I know the fish are going to be to our south because I caught them yesterday. I was following them yesterday. It's like, okay, so do I run south and hope to find them south, before I make it to Sebastian Inlet, or do I run north and try and find the next group that's coming? And so that's always a very early call you have to make in the day.
Over the years, I've just decided that unless somebody calls me and tells me and says that there's just, they're turning cartwheels through the bait pod and it's at Cocoa Beach, where I can follow them from there down through Patrick Air Force Base and down through O'Galley and Indy Atlantic and then to Melbourne, I almost always run north because you can't. By the time you get done chasing those baits at the end of the day, you're so far away from your home port that you launch from. If you keep going south, after going south to find them, and then you keep going south, it's a long run.
I mean, but so is running north if there isn't the next pulse.
You're right about that too.
So, I get what you're saying, where it's like you don't want to chase them even further, but it's like, do I go for the mostly guaranteed bait, or do I go for the could be there bait?
That's the dilemma we have every morning.
Yep.
But how do we get our clients into the best bite?
Yep.
How do we do that? But yeah, the last couple of times I was out there, there was a decent bite. I wouldn't say it was great, but there was a decent bite going on. Just a few fish here, a few fish there, but nothing crazy. Nothing, no cartwheels, no snook, blowing up, no tarpon jumping out of the water. There was right before the storm came. It was kind of almost subdued.
Yeah.
It was, you could catch fish, but it wasn't wide open like I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, I haven't been out in the nearshore water recently, but the last day that I was out, there were a lot of fish around. They just, like you said, they were just very mellow, not really looking for anything to eat. They're just kind of milling around. We got 1 or 2 bites here and there, but it was pretty slow, even comparatively to the number of fish that we were seeing.
Well, in the last day I was out, I couldn't even go around the tip of the Cape.
Yeah,
it was bumpy, it was bumpy. So we worked our way up the beach a little bit, and it was like, nah, we're not even going to try and get around the shoal because the shoal was breaking all the way in.
Yeah,
the tide was not right, so it was way too low to try and cut through the trough, or what used to be the trough up there, because there's not a trough.
I was going to say there isn't really one anymore.
No, there's half of a trough, and then there's sand.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need something to kind of come back in and scour that sand back out and create that deeper trough all the way around, so that you don't have to, because right now sometimes it's breaking from on the north side of the tip. It's breaking from the shoal all the way to the beach, where that sand is real shallow, and so you have to cut out and go through the shoal.
Yep.
There's a little tiny patch, that you can squeeze through. It's not, sometimes it's breaking too, but there's a little tiny patch you can squeeze through and then get out and around. But man, I tell you what, that beach break is just ridiculous right now. It just really needs to kind of scour its way out. So, hey, we got the one and only Rodney Sahr coming in this morning. Good morning, buddy. How are you doing?
Good morning. Sorry, I'm a little late, man. It's been a while, and I gave myself the same time frame it used to be. And
there's 19,000 cars on the road this morning.
Well, I live, obviously I live towards Orlando. That's a given.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
I went to pull out of my subdivision this morning and had to sit there and wait.
Yeah.
I'm like, It's 6:45 in the morning. Why am I having to wait on a Saturday to even pull out onto the main road for my subdivision?
I had to get something to drink. Had to get something to drink on the way. Pulled in the gas station. I think a couple people were in there that hadn't gone to bed yet. Just saying, but
they were a little wild.
Yeah, they looked a little bit. They hadn't gone to sleep yet. But it's good to be in, man.
It is. It's good to have you back. Definitely good to have you back. So, Justin and I were just talking about here, where we've got this huge reset with the storm.
Oh yeah.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, well, we don't know. Are we going to have good solid flows of mullet? Are we going to have pulses? Are we going to have a day or two where we don't see anything? It's
Well, I'm curious your thoughts, because my thoughts, I'd rather have pulses of mullet than just a steady stream. No? See, I get frustrated with those snook inside the port when there's just mullet everywhere, like just acres of mullet. I struggle to get them to bite, but when there's just shoots of them coming in, I feel like it's a little bit easier to get them to bite.
In a specific scenario, like at the jetties, a pulse.
Jetty's a little different.
Yeah, pulse would be okay.
Yeah.
But when you're on the beach,
okay,
the more bait that is on that beach, the more fish come to that beach.
Well, honestly, Jim, every time I go, because of my luck, it's too daggone rough to even try to fish the beach. So I'm stuck inside the port. So I have not fished in the surf or on the beach this entire run.
We were just talking about that. It was like, it's the last time, I think Tuesday, because I did not fish Wednesday. Wednesday was a little bumpy. Tuesday was the last day that I fished this week, and it was 3 to 4 feet at 4 seconds.
Yeah, we were out Tuesday night because I had called you, and we were out there. We caught some redfish on the jetty.
Yeah, the redfish bite's been solid.
And we caught some off another section too, but we went to the very back, then came back out, and I'm like, sorry, man, we can't go to the jetty now. It was way too flipping rough, man.
Yep,
it was like we were holding on while we were fishing the jetty earlier in the evening, and at that point, it was
it picked
took
up
one over the bow. Like,
I was talking with Adam on the Sea Sharker, one of Greg Rapp's sea leveler boats, and he went by and I waved and I kind of pointed, I just kind of went like this to tell him the fish are here if he needed that. He had some shark guys.
Yeah.
So my guys wanted food. They want to take a fish home. They want snook. They want flounder. They want Spanish mackerel. They wanted something to eat, and I could not get away from the redfish. Could not. It was every cast was a redfish. I'm like, it didn't matter if you put a shrimp on, a finger mullet on. It didn't matter. You throw a finger mullet up against the jetty, boom. It was like a magic trick. You throw the finger mullet in, it sits there for like 3, 2, 1, poof, and it turns into a redfish. And so after about 12 or 14 straight casts with redfish, my guys are like, "Can we catch something else?" And I'm like, "Trying, dude." I mean,
it's normally not a problem.
Yeah,
like most other days, I'd be like, "Oh my god, it's amazing." Yeah.
And and they were all sizes. We caught them from, like 16 or 17 inches to 40 inches.
I say we had
it was all different
20-inch
size.
Range. Every one of them that we caught.
But they're fat. Every one of them are little pumpkins right now. So they're nice and fat.
It's cool to see that. It's good to see that size redfish in there, that smaller size. It's like,
that's
where
what
they
the
go?
closure's all about. The closure's about getting fish back into the slot size that people can actually harvest, because we had a lot of unders and a lot of overs, and we just didn't have a lot in the slot. But anyway, Adam texted me. I moved 3 times on 3 different spots on the jetty, and he called me. And he's like, "Hey, man, how are they chewing there? I'm not getting anything up the beach, and my guys are a little queasy." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so at 3 at 4, or 4 at 4. And I was like, "Come on in and get your fenders out." I said, "As soon as you get here, I'll just move. You just anchor right where I'm at." I said, "The redfish are firing." So he came in. I pulled out of the way, let him have my spot. And at the end of the day, he called me. He goes, "Yeah, we caught 37. So I was like, good for you.
Wow. That's awesome.
So it's nice when you can help somebody else out.
Heck yeah.
But unfortunately, my guys, was trying to get those snook and stuff. I just couldn't get anything. So it's a hard problem to have, I guess.
Right.
As some people, it's a high class problem, right? Well, let's take our first break of the day, and when we come back, we got a whole lot more. But give us a call, 321-632-1000. We'd love to hear from you right here at Catch a Memory Outdoors. Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors. This segment of the show is brought to you by Sun State Pest Management. Make sure you get out there and give Sun State a call, because, all the rain we've had, the bugs want to be in your house and not out of your house. So I'm actually getting ready to give them a call. We got ants that are showing up in our yard. All of a sudden, we've got fire ants.
Fire ants.
It's like, what the heck?
And Miss Robin loves those, let me tell you.
Does. Yeah, as much as she loves bees and everything else. Yeah, it's like all of a sudden the insects are just coming out of the wood.
The water's saturated.
And so I got to get them back out there to get me tightened up. And that's going to be happening Monday or Tuesday, because they are being a nuisance. But you know what, you guys and gals can give them a call, because that's exactly what they do. Get out there, give Sun State a call. It's real easy to get a hold of them. They're right here in Rockledge, but you can call them at 800-781-7378. Have them come out, analyze what your pest problem is, and then use the right type of product to get it taken care of. So make sure you stop in and see those guys and gals, or give them a call and have them come on out. We're going to go to the phone lines, it sounds like, because I just heard the phone ring. Got Captain Mike Mann on the line with the Mosquito Lagoon report. What's going on, buddy?
Living the dream, just sitting here watching the surf right now with the dogs in the truck so I don't wake the family up. And probably going to go slide the boat in a little bit. It's a beautiful morning.
Mm-hmm.
It does look nice out there, which is a nice break from what we've had the last 4 days.
I got my eyes on tomorrow after church. I think I'm going to do the same, Mike.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it looks beautiful, and the next few days looks like really great weather, and we got a great moon coming up, a new moon in a couple of days, so I'm pretty excited. We've a little bit of water swell in the lagoon. It pushed a little bit higher, but it's not a big deal. It's still clear. Had great sight fishing all last week before the storm hit, so
nice.
I think it's going to continue right on through.
Mike, how's the, I know it's probably been a day or two since you've been on the water, but how's the water height? Is it as high as it was, or has it started to recede?
It started to recede a little bit. I mean, it was already high to begin with. So there's a lot of places, where I've been kind of getting back in. I've had to, with our grass coming back, I've had to go back to some of my logs from years ago and go back and look at where I was finding fish. And lo and behold, there's fish there again.
Well, that's good.
That's awesome. That's great news.
Yeah, I think I fished Tuesday or Wednesday before the storm, and sight cast 6 or 8 reds, probably threw at a few other, probably 24 others that I didn't even get a reaction to till I found the right color they wanted. And that's kind of a good point when you're sight casting. You've got confidence in a bait, but the fish don't have confidence in it. Change colors, change profiles, do something. And, once I found a color they liked a little bit better, it was a lot of fun just out there by myself enjoying a day and just me and the dog and catching fish.
Awesome.
Lucy's pretty good at pointing out those tailors, huh?
She is. Lucy's real good at, she's an Australian tailor dog.
I can't keep Coral, my lab, in the boat, or I would take her more. So
that's why I don't have a lab, man. Those labs like getting that water too much. Scott Tripp's got a Portuguese water dog, and about 8:30 every morning the dog falls in the water off the boat by accident. And I'm using finger quotes, but
Yep.
It's gotten to a point now he tells his clients, he goes, look, about 8:30, 9 o'clock, he's going in, and Gilly's going to go for a swim. Hopefully
funny.
we're not on a big school of reds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But I think we're going to have, I didn't see really any schools this week, but I wasn't looking for them. I was kind of looking more of those singles and doubles and cruising fish. And I think we're going to have a pretty strong winter fishery. Just judging by everything I've seen, we've had clean water all year long, which it's been a few years since I've been able to sight cast throughout the year.
Mike, I was thinking that the other day. I was down fishing in Sebastian, and there's a lot of calourpa still in that area. There is some seagrass, but there's not as much as there is in the northern lagoon and the northern Indian River lagoon and the Mosquito Lagoon. And I was thinking to myself, we've got good numbers of small snook. I mean, we're catching snook. I had a fly guy out last Friday, anywhere from 12 or 13 inches up to the same shoreline had snook on it that were, I don't know, we didn't stop them, so they're, mid 30s, 34, 38 inch fish. You needed your bottom grouper rod to basically try and stop them, and they're hitting our little paddle tails that we're throwing for trout and stuff, So on a 3,000 to 4,000 size reel, you're just not able to stop those fish unless they make a mistake and don't go crochet your fishing line around the roots on the mangrove trees, and they run out into the middle of the lagoon. But we are catching all sizes of ladyfish, small and big. We caught trout from 10 or 11 inches up to about 24, 25 inches, and snook in the same way, 12, 13 inches up into, well, we didn't stop any of the big snook, but they're there. And I'm just thinking to myself, if this stays in play, we have got a fantastic late fall, or still summer, as we call it here in Florida, because we don't have fall, we just have still summer. And that just tells you that
3 days of winter.
Yeah, it just tells you that it's not summer anymore. It's not, but still summer is 5 degrees cooler than summer. So that's what everybody else, has.
It just means the pumpkins show up in Target.
Yeah.
Or Walmart.
Yeah. And the
all.
Christmas trees.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. They've already putting Christmas stuff out. So.
Yeah, I saw that at Walmart the other day. I'm like, too soon, guys, too soon.
Here's the funny thing. My wife made mention of this the other day. She's like, they are so confused. The people trying to market in Florida they've got to have they're pulling their hair out, because they're trying to put out the fall jackets and, long pants and all of the fall gear, but yet they've still got crop tops and bikinis, you know, out on the aisle right next to it. And they've got Halloween stuff out, Thanksgiving stuff out, and now they're putting Christmas stuff out. But we're having a heat advisory.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, to give it 2 more weeks, we'll have Valentine's Day stuff out too.
Right.
I don't doubt it.
Yep.
I don't doubt it. But
But
going into this fall time period, I look at it and I'm like, you know, the reports I'm getting from you, because I haven't been up in the Mosquito Lagoon in quite a few weeks. The reports I'm getting from Justin, you know, Justin's been fishing the Indian and the Banana. I've been fishing the Indian and the Banana. We look at what's going on the beach. I've been fishing down at Sebastian. I just look at the whole region, and I say to myself, you know, as long as, you know, we're seeing the effects of the half-cent sales tax and the benefits that it is doing with water storage, you know, water baffle boxes to help clean the water before it goes into the lagoon. You know, there's some muck dredging that's going on. There's been some small septic to sewer conversions in small places. All of this money that's being raised is actually, we're seeing, it's taken a long time, but we are seeing the benefits from it. And because of that, I think that, you know, when we look at how good it is at this part of the year when it's typically the worst water quality that we have,
Yep.
If this is as bad as it gets, we are definitely making progress in the lagoon system.
Most definitely. I'm starting to get that warm, fuzzy feeling that I had 10 years ago when I'd get up in the morning to go fishing, or I happen to have a day off, and I'm like, oh, I'm going fishing. You know, I've got sun. Oh, yeah, it's blowing 15, 20. Who cares? I've got sunny skies. I can get out and get on the leeward shore, and I can sight cast some fish. I'm starting to get that warm, bubbly feeling because I was kind of losing it a little bit. It just wasn't fun, and now it's fun.
Well, especially in 2018, 2019, when you knew that the water quality wasn't good, it looked like a yoo-hoo. You had your cut baits with you, and you knew that it was going to be a 20 catfish and hopefully a 3 redfish morning.
Yeah.
You know, that's a hard way to go to work, knowing that that's a best case scenario. And unless you found something out of the ordinary, you found a pot of tarpon, or you found a pot of jacks, or you found something, you just knew that the fish couldn't see a lure, and so you were using cut baits and live baits, and you were going to catch catfish, hardheads, and you were hopefully going to have something with a spot on its tail as well.
Yeah, you know, you get your 4th catfish, okay, time to move to another spot. And you would just bounce around, and, you know, and it's just, it's never been fun for me sitting there. You know, and I've got some clients that love to sit there with a chunk bait or a finger mullet out there swimming around, or a pigfish. Me, I like to be on the pole. You know, it's my exercise, and I like being up there and seeing what's going on, because it's kind of like, you know, when you're standing on a, 50-foot tall building looking down at all the people walking around, you can see all the little things that happen. Being on the polling platform, to me, it was just one of the joys, and I really loved my job because of that. I could see everything that was going on. I could tell how fish were reacting, and then I could adjust what my anglers were doing to catch more fish, versus sitting there and, okay, well, this is a shoreline that's got a little, may have something on it. We'll sit here for a while, or, we'll move around. We'll hit this spot. And finally you put something together, but it just wasn't fun. And, I got to the point where I was just staying up north, and we're going mangrove snapper, black drum fishing. And, we're going to catch some catfish, but we're going to cast and reel.
Well, Mike, can you hold through the break?
Yes, sir.
I want to expand on the whole sight fishing thing that we're going to be able to do this fall based on the better water quality. So if you hold through the break, we will be right back with Captain Mike Mann. I'm Captain Jim Ross. We got Rodney Sahr in the studio this morning, and Captain Justin Ross as well. So if you guys want to give us a call, 321-632-1000. We're going to be right back after this break. Welcome back. We appreciate y'all tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch Your Memory Outdoors. This segment of the show is brought to you by Lamb Deck. And if you guys and gals are looking for the best EVA decking to put on your boat, give Lamb Deck a call. It's got a lifetime warranty, and it definitely makes your boat a whole lot safer and a whole lot nicer to stand on after a long day on the water. Give them a call, 321-505-4888. We were talking with Captain Mike Mann just before the break, and you guys, you like to sight fish. Rodney, you don't get to sight fish as much because you're more of a near shore, offshore kind of a guy. But, Mike does a lot of polling in the lagoon system, and whether it's the Northern Indian River or whether it's the Mosquito Lagoon, with the water quality being better this year, and a lot of the projects that we have coming up are actually going to be addressing the Northern Indian River Lagoon area. We've already got fairly decent water quality, and we've got grass growing there. But if we can get some of these other projects done to help keep the nutrients and get the legacy muck out of the lagoon system, we're going to have a really, really good sight fishery again up in the north end. But, Mike, you were talking about being on the push pole, working down a shoreline, and whenever you talk about that, I immediately, in my mind, I am in Slippery Creek. I am in, I am in Plantation. I am in Hong Kong. I am somewhere in the Northern Lagoon, poling down an edge in my mind. I can see the shell points. I can see, I can see the depressions. I can see the grass flats in my mind. And and I'm sure a lot of our listeners out there do exactly the same thing. When you talk about, they think about the place that they push pole or drift across or trolling motor across in their mind's eye. Best case scenario for this winter, we're looking at multiple species, like you were saying, drum and redfish and trout, and hopefully some of those mangrove snapper and whiting and some of those other species. But let's just say that we don't. Let's just say that the water turns kind of dark, gets a little muddy. What are some of the tips that you would tell people that they need to look at if the water quality isn't truly clean just yet?
With this high water that we've got, points. Look at those points. Look at where you've got sandbars sloping down in. Anything that gives a little break and a little ambush point. That was one of the things I found a couple days ago was every point, I don't care how small of a little protrusion it was coming off an island, it had a fish on it. And, that takes me back to the bass fishing days. It goes well with red fishing, with snook fishing, trout, even tarpon. They like those little ambush spots, and they'll kind of set up. And you don't have to see them. A few of the fish I caught was just because I was fishing points like that. And structure doesn't mean a log in the water. It means a change in the contour of the bottom. And that's one of the things I would look for. Look wherever something protrudes out. If there is a little mangrove branch hanging, growing out, coming out of the water, typically there's going to be some fish around that.
Yeah, with the water being so high right now, it allows those fish to get back into places that they haven't gotten into. So, this time of the year, I always look for places that I can't normally get to. That seems to be one of my key patterns.
Yep, that's the same with me. I like getting into those little areas that, you could get into before, but you really had to work really hard. You kind of were a little louder coming in there than you like to be, or moving around there because the water was so low. Those are great areas, but those are more for like micro skiffs or canoes or, a paddleboard even. Now with this water high, you can get in there, I can get in those areas, even though my boat only floats in, 5 to 6 inches. Those areas can be a little tough to get into unless you got this high water. And you get back to some of those back areas where people don't take the effort to get into. Then you've got fish that haven't been harassed. They haven't had, people trolling around by them. And those are some really typically aggressive fish, and they don't spook as well.
Yeah.
Or as easily.
They don't. They seem to be happier fish. They definitely seem to be happier. Okay, so 2 minutes before the next break, clean water scenario, which is what we've had. We've had some pretty clean stuff. Justin and I have been doing some sight fishing in the lagoon systems in the Banana and Indian. Clean water scenario. What's your go-to bait or two baits let's just say 2 artificial lures. And what's your approach? Because we're going to start getting more north winds, and the sun's going to start dropping to the south in the sky. So it's going to make for a little bit of a challenge on some of those shorelines.
Yeah, so first thing in the morning, I start out top water. I work the top water or jerk bait. I like something I can move that I don't have to see the fish, but I can work the areas. Once I start getting a few blow-ups, a few chases on the top water, I may switch over to a jerk bait or a soft paddle tail. And I mean, my go-to in the lagoon, if I was stranded on an island, a paddle tail, a 3 to 4 inch paddle tail, rigged weedless. If we lose some of the grass over the winter, which we typically do, once we get some colder months, then I may just drop to a jig head on a paddle tail. And that, I mean, I've caught more fish on paddle tails than any other thing I throw.
Yeah, that's my go-to as well. I really like that. I've got a new bait that I just started using, and so far the baby tarpon kind of like it, but I want to see how the fish on the flats react to it because it doesn't cast very far. And it's a 3-inch minnow. It's a split-tail minnow that Assassin makes, and it's a bait that they've made for 2 decades, but is now becoming really popular in the bass world because of the forward-facing sonar stuff. And these guys are using little drop shot rigs and things like that. And they're using these little plastics that are on like a drop shot rig. And I'm taking that and putting it on a corkscrew, like a hitchhiker that Daiichi makes.
Oh, yeah.
So I run it in the front, and then I run the corkscrew onto a little circle hook. So the hook is on the nose of the bait, and it leaves the entire rest of the little 3-inch paddle, 3-inch split tail, without anything in it. So it moves like an injured bait fish very, very easily. And that's what I've been throwing here the last two trips. I just started doing this, and I'm getting good results from it.
Well, one of the things that is overlooked with a weedless rigged paddle tail, and I typically go to the 4-inch because I can use a little better hook and a little larger hook, and I can rig it weedlessly a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can slow reel it. Keep that tail moving. You can bounce it. You can jig it. You can work it in so many different ways that you can adapt your presentation to what the fish want. Sometimes they want you almost burning it. Sometimes they want just slow paddle, just that tail thumping. Sometimes they want it bouncing up and down, and sometimes you reel it and you just drop it right in front of them, especially when you got sand holes. You let that thing drop down, hit a sand hole, puff up a little bit, and then start reeling again. And with the sight fishing, the beautiful thing with that is you can watch how the fish react to your retrieval, and you can adjust it.
Now, are you fishing it weighted or unweighted, Mike?
Belly weight.
Yep. So weighted.
Yeah. So
wide gap hook.
Wide gap. I use the Z-Man. So they've got a Texas rig that's got a jig head with a split ring basically on it with a belly weighted hook. So you can either it's got the jig head and a weedless hook that goes through because you can push the whole weight and everything through and not destroy the bait.
Right.
So that's what I've been that's one of my little secrets. They call it the Texas rig. And, man, it's deadly because you get all the benefits of a jig head and all the benefits of weedless.
Yeah, I've been using the Storm Coastal 360 GT series hooks because they've got a corkscrew in the front, the weight on the hook shank, and then the point. You don't have to push the weight through the bait. You only have to push the point through the bait because it's pinned on that front spring, on that that little spring lock, and that keeps the bait from getting destroyed.
Yeah, this little weight setup I'm using, it's almost like you're throwing. You remember the Rapala segmented, the original Rapala segmented floating ones that had the little break in the middle of them?
Yes,
the original floaters.
Yep. This works a lot like that, but it's a soft plastic.
Gotcha.
And it's a very cool hook. I'll send when I come down in a couple weeks, Jimmy. I'll bring you some.
Sounds like a plan.
They are deadly, and you can use them. I've actually used them on the Bass Assassin worm or soft plastics as well. They are, because it doesn't have the belly weight. It's got the jig head weight.
Gotcha.
You can do the 1/8 ounce or the 1/4 ounce if you want to get down a little bit deeper, which that's another thing. I've switched over to a little bit heavier. I've been using more 1/4 ounce lately because the water's so deep.
Yeah, you do have to kind of, and we've had a little bit of wind, so it helps you cut through that wind on your cast too.
Oh, most definitely. And that makes a big difference, especially, when you're casting upwind or crosswind, which is even worse because you gotta kind of cast towards the trees and hope the wind doesn't die mid-cast.
Well, buddy, we're up against our next break. How does somebody get a hold of you? We appreciate all those great tips this morning.
Yeah, I've got a lot of days open in October still. You can give me a call at area code 386-295-5991. You can go right to my website, fatfishguide.com. Follow me on Instagram, CAPT, Mike Mann with 2 N's, and on Facebook, Fat Fish Guide Service. And, hey, don't forget tarpon are still around. This is kind of the last little hurrah for the next month and a half on tarpon.
That is the truth. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot this morning, Mike.
Thanks, guys. Get out there and catch a memory. Talk to you later.
Take care.
See you, Mike.
Hey, gang, we're going to go take a break. We're going to be right back with Captain Justin Ross, myself, Jim Ross, and Rodney Sahr. So don't go away. We're going to be right back. Hey, guys and gals, welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory. This segment of the show is brought to you by Engel Coolers, and just wanted to remind you guys and gals, it's hunting season. Deers need to be in the cooler whenever you clean them, and that new 123 is a pretty nice unit, and so is the UL60.
I just picked up one of those UL60s.
Did you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So my ribbon fish cooler now.
Well, that'll work too. Has the ribbon fish started to show up? Oh, anyway, engelcoolers.com. Just check out all the stuff they have there. It's really, really great site. Get anything you need.
Yeah, well, it's also my truck cooler, but they've been a little bit, but not like got to go get them,
right?
Get the numbers. So I haven't really dedicated the time to it yet. Plus, I like to wait till about this time of year. They're a little bit bigger than normally. So, mullet run, they seem to get a little bit larger. So,
how you catching them?
We normally will use one of those long shank number 4, number 6 hooks. Sometimes number 2, depending on how big they are. And you can use shrimp, and you put a glow stick above it. Anywhere from 6 to 8 inches, whatever. Just doesn't make a whole lot of difference, honestly. But then if you catch anything like a bluefish or a Spanish, something like that, and you fillet it up and use little pieces of that works really good too. Stays on the hook a little bit better. But I see the guys on the seawall there at the launch. So there's definitely some. And I saw a couple, what was that, Tuesday night? I saw a couple kind of jump, and I got cut off by one. But just not seeing them in the huge numbers yet. But it's fun. You'll get your hands tore up. So I'd recommend that long D hooker, either that Rapala makes or Daiwa makes a big difference. But yeah, they're there. There's some there for sure. So
yeah, that's they do have some teeth.
They're nasty little critters, man. Nasty.
Man, Justin and I live with our D hookers in our hands just about.
Yep. So yeah, I don't even. It's funny. I don't even touch anymore anything ladyfish, jacks, nothing like that. No reason to. It's just like. Done.
Oh, and ladyfish, it's like, don't even bring it in the boat.
I know.
Because if it touches, if its tail even touches the deck, it's spraying poop everywhere. So
yeah, we get 1 or 2 pictures of jacks and ladyfish, and then after that,
you're done.
They're all staying outside the boat.
Tuesday night, I ended up catching a ladyfish that was a little on the big side to try to put back out for a snook, but close. So I had Justin Ritchie with me, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna put it out." So he puts it out. And we were fishing some of the different pilings there, some of the docks, and all of a sudden, boom! Yep, I can't stop it. Well, you know exactly what that was. It was halfway up under the freaking things before it finally broke the line. But Mr. Goliath paid us a little bit of a visit. But
Justin, you actually got one in the river.
We actually landed one in the river.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. He was probably right at 40 pounds, 45 pounds.
Yep.
You were tarpon fishing.
Yeah, we were fishing for tarpon, and there were tarpon in the area, so I'm just kind of doing circles. And I keep coming by this thing that's on the bottom, and I can't tell what it was, whether it was like an old concrete barrier or something like that, but it looked like it was we were in 9 feet of water, and it looked like it was maybe 3 feet tall and like 6 or 7 feet long. And it was just this little thing. So I was like, okay. So one of the times when we went by it, I just pitched a bait over there and let it sit for a second. And sure enough, it got thumped. And so I handed it off to the kid I had on the boat. And he pulled up a 40 or 45 pound Goliath.
That's fun.
And I was like, oh, that's freaking cool.
Yep.
You know?
I remember one of the days it was crazy. Pelican, bottom fishing on Pelican. We hook Goliath, little buddy of mine, little guy, hooks Goliath, gets it up. While he's fighting it, I have a bait out the back, and we hook a sailfish. So one guy's fighting a sailfish, and I'm just sitting there watching this because he's like going around the boat, and the guy's fighting this, and then he wants to release it in the water, not the sailfish, the Goliath. So he gets in the water. We got a sailfish still jumping over here. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, I feel like I'm down in like Fort Lauderdale.
And here comes the bull shark.
Yeah, I don't get in the water, do any of that anymore.
So that, that thump reminds me of the last time that we went out and we were doing a little bit of filming.
Mm-hmm.
We had some full-size mullet and we were throwing them for the snook. And he had one that, it must have just come off the top rope hitting one of these mullet. It thumped the crap out of him. Yep. His rod must have moved 2 feet. It got hit so hard,
A snook or a Goliath?
A snook.
A snook.
Yeah.
And
so that was a lot of fun. I think that was, you put that on your story not too long ago, right? On Instagram? Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you, man, even if you're not out there fishing for them during a mullet run, just to go sit and watch the mullet get blown up by all the different species. Because if you watch close enough, you can tell what they are.
Yeah.
Like, you see a snook doing a cartwheel, it's pretty crazy. And then Justin swore, he said it may have been a kingfish, but on the North Jetty, something sky just right off of it. And I said it probably was a big Spanish because those big Spanish were up in the
or barracuda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
there's been a lot of
barracuda
barracuda between there and the entrance of the Trident Basin.
The Trident? Okay.
Yeah.
This was on the ocean side. Yeah. So it's basically off the tip of the North Jetty, just northeast of that. Not very far, I don't know, 10, 15 yards off of it. But I know there were some big Spanish out there last time I was out there. So
when the spinner sharks get going, that's cool to watch too.
Fun.
Not so cool when you're trying to catch other stuff, but
we hooked something on Tuesday that just ran. It was just headed north. We were sitting on the North Jetty, and it ran around the tip of the North Jetty and then just kept going. Just kept on going. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't. It was either. I'm thinking it was probably a big shark, either a bull or a lemon. Because it didn't act like a black tip. It didn't run fast enough for it to be a black tip. It was just a steady pull. But there's been a lot of hammerheads in the surf break lately as well.
I saw a big hammerhead the other day.
Did you?
Yeah. When we were out there tarpon fishing, he was pushing probably 14 feet or so.
Ooh,
he was big boy.
Yeah.
And
I haven't seen one that big in a while.
And I was like, oh, what's he doing in here in 8 feet of water,
Yeah.
You know exactly what he's doing.
Yeah. He was in there getting those tarpon. Yeah.
Tarpon snacks. I always end up catching nurse sharks on the jetty. That's what I always end up doing, especially if I'm fishing pogies on the bottom. I always end up catching the nurse shark.
You're using too much weight.
Yeah.
So. If the pogie can't outrun it, you're going to catch
they're
them every
all
time.
over it.
Yeah. Yeah. I may have been sleeping too.
Here's the other. Now this is actually a good little tip because you're catching a species. You're using the right bait, but you're catching a species that you don't want to catch, and it's your rigging. Okay. It's straight up how you're rigging it.
So I have a question.
Put a little bit less weight so that the pogie, and here's why: the pogie will be able to swim just a little bit. If he can, the faster the pogie can swim, but stay down in the water column, in front of the strike zone of the snook. The more snook you're going to catch.
And this is a question I asked because I found I prefer knocker rigs.
I do too.
Fishing the jetty, I find I catch more snook doing that than fishing your split shot or sliding with a swivel fish finder rig, whatever.
Way more.
My favorite rig for when we're fishing the jetties is actually a 4-ounce pyramid sinker with a pompano rig on the end of it. Hooked up to a surf rod with some wire somewhere in there.
Some wires
and 2 dead shrimp.
And two dead shrimp on it.
Yeah. Like catching them kitties. And I don't know if you guys have caught any of the croakers. to fish the jays, but I found they've been really small.
Yeah, a lot of small ones.
Real small.
I haven't been messing with them.
So we were up fishing some of the reefs and stuff, and we were getting some monster croakers earlier in the year.
Did you see why am I gonna forget his name? Shoot. From DOA. Mark Nichols. Do you see the size of that croaker he caught down there?
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. I guess it could be a Florida record. The thing was gigantic. It looked like a redfish, basically, like just different coloration.
Yeah.
I know they get them big up north, but like I've never caught anything over maybe a pound and a half.
Like a South Carolina.
This thing's like that.
Yeah, like
big.
a South Carolina,
Yeah.
North Carolina croaker can
Yeah.
get 18 inches.
I know. It's crazy.
And ones we were getting were probably 15.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they were big.
Big ones.
Big.
So
They
take
were
them
big
offshore
enough
and drop them.
Well, they were big enough that you could fillet them.
Yeah, I heard they are delicious.
Because they're twice as thick as a
Yeah.
whiting.
Yep. I heard they're
And-
good.
But they're delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're delicious. Actually, one of the best ways to cook them is just scale them and cook them whole.
Cool.
You know, that's a great way to.
I'll tell you what I
cook
look
them.
forward to. We're talking about fall as we get into winter. I look forward to the weak fish when the weak fish show up too. Those are fun to catch when they're thick on those little near shore structures. Those are a lot of fun to catch. So
That is for sure. Well,
Yeah.
guys and gals, we're going to take our top of the hour break. We're going to come back. Got a whole another. I can't believe the first hour's gone.
that was fast.
It's gone. We got a whole other hour coming back at you. So grab another cup of coffee. We're going to be right back after these messages. Hey, guys and gals, welcome back. Second hour of the show is popping up right now. I'm Captain Jim Ross. Rodney Sahr is in the studio with us, and so is Captain Justin Ross. If you guys and gals want to give us a call, 321-632-1000 is our call-in line. You know, I was just thinking, the other night, Thursday night, was supposed to be the Space Coast CCA banquet. And
they postponed it?
They postponed it until December the 12th, which is a good thing, because that's kind of an off week for people. You're after sort of the Black Friday,
Craziness, all that.
Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday rush that kind of happens. Thanksgiving's out of the way. Christmas hasn't quite got there yet, so it's a little bit of a lull right in there. So that's a great time to actually have that event is on the 12th. But, I haven't heard from Lisa, and I don't know what's going on over in Crystal River with the Star Banquet.
I can't imagine they're going to have it. I talked
It's
to
gonna be
Casey, who's the owner of Sodium Fishing over there, which
Right.
if you guys are ever over there, you got to check that store out. It's an amazing store. I know the water was about a quarter mile from his store, which his store is a good.
His
probably,
store's way inland.
Yeah. From my understanding, I think, what is the main road along
Is it
the coastline? 19. Everything basically west of 19 was forced for evacuation. From my understanding, water is up to the windows in most all of those.
Water
houses and
was
buildings.
to 19.
Yeah.
I
So-
was watching the channel 35
Yep.
news, and the guy, he's one of their roving reporters. The guy woke up in the middle of the night and
Water in his hotel.
water in the hotel room, and they were all the way at 19.
Yeah.
They were
probably at either
they
the
were
Hampton
past-
or the
yeah,
Holiday Inn
they were-
Express right there.
I think he said a Best Western or a
Best
Days
Western,
Inn.
okay.
I don't remember
Yeah.
now, but something.
Those are all on 19.
It's all
Yep.
right there, by
Yep.
the grocery store and all that
Uh-huh.
stuff. But you could see out in the parking lot. It had been 3.5 feet deep in the parking lot,
Yep.
that far inland, and you could see 19 in the background, and it was underwater still.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the news, even and first off, and I should have said this in the beginning, like prayers out to all those
Yeah.
affected by this storm.
Yep.
It was, I think I looked at it, I'm like, this is going to do some damage. I think it did different types of damage than most people were expecting with the amount of water and rain.
Just water.
And then over on the West Coast, as far south as like St. Pete and Sarasota, basically the storm surge was just unbelievable. I talked to my old counterpart from Columbia Sportswear who lives in the Clearwater area, and he said he has never seen anything as bad as this as far as the storm surge. So boats, houses, just it destroyed so much. This has got to go down as one of the worst like financial storms ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Katrina was bad, but this covered a large area that it affected.
Well, and
I mean,
still
how many
affecting
different
people?
Yeah, and how many different states? Florida, Georgia, a little bit of Alabama.
Paul was
all
saying that
So,
one of the dams broke near where his family
Yep.
lives up in the
Carolinas, all that. So I mean, just I saw on the news the Peachtree River was about half a foot from its crazy 1910 or 19 something flood that I had. It was less than a foot from that point, which was like 20 something feet over, its normal levels.
I was gonna say they were talking about the storm surge being somewhere around 20 feet.
Yep. Over on the west coast.
Crazy.
It is.
I mean, that much water is crazy.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were warning people. They got people out, which is good. And I hate to say, like, it hit the best spot it could, but it almost did. Like, it was the least populated area. They were calling for that thing to basically go right up and hit originally Destin, then it was Panama City Beach, and it kept going a little bit east. If it would have hit some of those areas like Panama City Beach, the amount of population that's right there would have been horrible.
Even worse. Yeah.
So
I know Robin Shiver and the Shivers up at Bass Assassin in Mayo took a direct hit, second direct hit in two storms. Debbie went over them as well. This time they lost a lot of. I saw a picture. Actually, Bryson Rice sent me a picture that Robin Jr. sent him, and buildings just absolutely demolished. Now Mayo is 40-ish miles inland from the coast.
Yep.
And these things look like they were just flattened.
Jeez.
Absolutely flattened. I don't know if they had any damage to their shop, but I know that some of their outbuildings were just destroyed. And I was kind of shocked about that. The other person I have not heard from is Tino from All About Archery. He has a house in Madison. That's where his retirement home is. And I talked to him Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday morning. I talked to him and just said, I didn't know if he was here or there. And I just said, hey, if I can help in any way this weekend, I'm not going to be deer hunting. Yeah. So if you need some help, let me know. I've not heard from him. So I don't know if they just don't have, he's out in the sticks anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if they just don't have communication. Cell tower went down, something, I don't know what. But I haven't heard a word from Tino at all.
Thankfully, so far what they're saying, the loss of life was not that bad as far as, I hate saying that way. That doesn't sound good to say it that way.
Well, it went right over the top of his house. I mean, Madison was like in the bullseye.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, yeah, it's not good. That's for sure. So, definitely, like I said, prayers out to his family. And I've called a lot of my accounts, which I don't go much farther north than Crystal River. So I called a lot of my accounts, and, I only had 2, maybe 3 accounts that were majorly affected. But with that being said, business will be obsolete for a while.
Yeah.
So it's a struggle for everybody. So
yeah, Gary Bartell over at Ozello Keys Marina took another direct.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Stanahatchee, they just got done. Finished rebuilding everything. That had to be. There's probably nothing left there at this point. So
not much.
Bad. Yeah.
Yeah, not much.
Sad. Such a beautiful area too, like absolutely gorgeous area. One of my favorite areas of Florida. It's still old Florida up there.
Well, here's the one thing that I kind of look at. I look at how close we're building to the coast, and how close our local county is allowing us to build to the waterfronts. And I kind of shake my head. I'm like, guys, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, because things just get destroyed when you have a storm like this. Now, if you've got $5 million, you can build a house that's 150 mile an hour wind rated building, and it's 25 feet up in the air. You can yes, it's possible to outbuild what the storm can destroy.
To a point.
Yeah. But I just think to myself, who's got $5 million and wants to live 25 feet up in the air?
Yeah.
I
don't know. It's one of those things, man. I've always said, I'd love to live on the water. I'd love to live on the water. But then you see stuff like this, like, do I really want to? Like, living in Orlando-ish area, Oviedo, where I live, I'm really, there was only one time where I was ready to pack it up and head out. And honestly, where I'm at, like, I don't have to worry too much. Even if it was a hit right on the coast with a major hurricane. I'm still would probably be all right.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the price we pay living down here. We don't have to deal with snow. that's a good thing in my book on that one. So
yeah, that's the truth.
Yep.
Well, Rodney, you were talking about fishing the jetties and fishing the mullet run. So let's go back to talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, I want to pick your guys' brain a little bit because obviously you guys do it as a profession. So
fire away.
I always see you guys out there. So I am still being a nearshore guy. I am still learning a little bit, reading side imaging the correct way and trying to determine different species and whatnot. And I mean, I can definitely pull up there and look and see if there's fish in there. And I've been kind of able to tell when they're the snook, the way they lay.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell they lay right alongside each other, kind of in the same direction. So it's kind of easier to see that. But I've noticed I've been marking like the ladyfish and stuff like that. When you go up there and you spot lock with the nose pointed, east, northeast towards the jetty. A lot of times to the right off the tip, you'll read those big ladyfish and those jacks and stuff. Well, the jacks are normally right on the jetty. But I've noticed those ladyfish just sit out to the right, just kind of on the edge of where it starts to drop down in the channel. But I also will notice I'll start marking stuff that looks like snook too, but I'm never 100%. And obviously, I think one of the most frustrating fish for me are the port snook sometimes because it's like they will lock jaw. We're not going to eat anything kind of scenario.
They get an attitude.
Yep. So, but marking the redfish, I've just marked fish going through. I never mark them like sitting. Is that
a lot of times when they're sitting, they're not all in the same direction.
Gotcha. They're
so
kind of all scattered.
If you see fish that are kind of sitting and turned in multiple directions, a lot of times that's reds.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you can kind of look at that. The snook will do it too on the slower tides. On the faster tides, they'll line up, but
gotcha. On
the slower tides, they'll kind of. Especially, you'll get some outlying fish that are turned in different directions than the actual like wad or school. But it's time. It's just time on it.
Yep.
But your rigging is critical. And like you say, you're getting nurse sharks. Well, that's because your bait can't outrun the nurse shark. And a nurse shark is not a fast predator.
Yeah. What size egg sinkers are you guys normally using?
1 ounce at the most.
Okay, yeah. See, I hardly ever use a 1 ounce. So this was a while ago, those nurse sharks, but I'm normally using pretty light.
Well, that's better.
Okay.
Yeah. 1 ounce at the most. Most of the time,
3/8 to half is normal.
I mean, we use a lot of jig heads when we're not using full size mullet. If we're using full size mullet, then 7/0, 8/0 circle hook.
Do you guys like to drop the bigger mullet?
Yeah.
Not the finger mullet, the bigger mullet. Yeah.
They'll eat a bigger mullet faster than they'll eat a finger.
Yeah,
mullet.
I've had trouble finding the bigger mullet.
You have to think it's a 35-inch fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, okay, do I want to expend the energy to chase
2-inch fish?
a 4-inch bait, or hey, here's a 10-inch mullet. I can just eat him and I'm done.
Yep.
So a lot of times that bigger bait, and croakers can be magical, pogies can be magical at times, especially if they've seen all the mullet they want to see for the day, and then you throw that different bait in there, sometimes that turns them on.
I've had a couple guys tell me the turbo pogies, though. We need a turbo pogie.
They will. Yeah. Just trying to keep them alive.
Yeah,
the hard part.
That's
Yep.
Pilchards and greenies work really well.
Pilchards are.
We caught a couple, not many, but there's a couple spots where in the past I used to catch them. We went through the net and caught a couple, but not many.
That's the problem.
One pilchard, one threadfin.
That's the pilchard or the problem is getting them.
Yeah.
100%. The pilchards and greenies, especially, I find with the snook and tarpon, are a really big deal.
Yep.
They like all those other things, but they're really quick. As long as they're lively.
Yeah. They don't live very long either.
Yeah.
There seems to be a triggering mechanism, and what I was saying before with a pogie on a knocker rig is not eliciting that response, that I have to kill it response, because it's just kind of sitting there and it's not really moving around.
Yep.
The snook really want to see they want to chase.
Yeah.
They act like they don't, but they really do. If you get a lively bait like Justin was saying, and they have to chase that thing a little bit, that's a triggering mechanism for them. And so a lot of times you can overcome that lockjaw by feeding that predatory instinct.
Gotcha.
And putting a bait out there. But it's a super fine balance of having just enough weight to keep it down in the water column and yet let it work really fast, or it's too light a weight and they're up above the, in the top part of the water column, and the snook aren't going to go chase them.
It's different for me because I'm so used to fishing Sebastian or Ponce Inlet for snook. We're fishing fast-moving water,
and you have to pin it down.
Well, that, and it's just to me, I take it back to when I lived up in Pennsylvania when you trout fishing streams and stuff. You're looking at a moving water where you're pitching upstream from it to hit the fish that might be in front of you or downstream a little bit. You're knowing where those rocks are, and you're trying to get that bait. So it's like once you get it to roll past that rock the right way, that's when you're going to get the hit.
Right.
Same kind of thing when you're fishing snook. If you're drifting the inlet or something, you're going so you pull that bait across them. It's a little bit different when you're fishing, the port and stuff.
It's like fishing slack tide all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to do something different.
And then you see all these snook along the pilings all over inside the port, and it's like, man, how do you get these fish to even eat? It's like, it's frustrating sometimes. You're like, man, I know they're there. Gosh, you see that blow, I'm like, that is a big fish, and you throw everything in there, nothing. It's like, geez.
The problem with the piling fish is getting them out.
Yeah.
You're like 1 for 10.
Yep. No, I just would like to hook them at some point. Yeah. I have trouble getting them to eat in general. So, but we couldn't find bigger mullet the other night. We looked several places, and we had trouble finding the bigger mullet. So I went in all the way in the back, even that beach along the parking area for the cruise ships, and didn't even see any bigger mullet there. There was just nothing but finger mullet.
Nothing but little stuff.
The biggest thing with the fish on the pilings and stuff, the docks, is you have to get it deep under the dock. You can't.
Not on the edge.
If you cast to the edge, you might as well just not even be fishing.
Yeah.
Because they don't care.
Yep.
You have to get it way back in there and then somehow get that fish to come right back out.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, what I'll do is I'll put them on a jig head a lot of times and throw it up under there.
Yep.
Mid tide, low tide, throw it up under there. The second it hits, I immediately start reeling. Because I want it to look like a fish that just jumped, landed, and is trying to get out of there because he just jumped from another fish that spooked him. I'm creating that illusion of a prey fish trying to elude a predator. And once again, you're tapping in on that predatory instinct of the snook that he wants to chase. And that's the key. That's the whole key to that thing. Well, guys and gals, we're going to take our next break. When we come back, we've got a whole lot more. If you want to give us a call, 321-632-1000. We're going to be right here after this break, so don't go away. Welcome back. This segment of the show is brought to you by Petrucci Insurance. And if you still haven't done it, you got time. I don't think there's a named storm out there right now. You can change insurances right now while we have this little window before the next one starts up. Call Petrucci Insurance. Have them do a rate quote. Make sure you're not paying too much for your insurance. It sounds like it's one of those things you're like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, but you never get around to doing it. Just make the phone call. Call them Monday morning and say, hey, this is my policy I have now. This is what I'm trying to insure. And is there anything better out there for me? And they will let you know. If you've got the best policy, stick with it. But probably you don't. And so they'll find something better for you. And that's what Petrucci does. That's what it's all about. So give them a call, 321-632-1200. That's 632-1200. Give them a shout Monday morning, Tuesday morning. And like I said, before the next tropical storm is named and they can't write you an insurance policy, get it done now. We're going to go to the phone lines. We got Donald calling in from Lutz this morning. Good morning, Donald.
Hey, good morning, captains. Hey, there's Joyce out there in the Atlantic right now.
Oh, did they name one already?
Yeah. Her name is Joyce.
I haven't been watching for 7 minutes, and there's a new name storm.
Yes, there's a new name storm. Yep.
Figures.
So Joyce is coming.
Hey, how did you guys fare in Lutz? Did you do okay over there?
Yeah, we're inland. We're by the way the crow flies, I'm 22 miles inland from the Gulf. So we got so lucky, but I'm looking at all, everybody on the coast. The devastation is just absolutely incredible. Captain Dylan Hubbard from Hubbard's Marina, who runs charter, the big head boats. His whole place was destroyed, or the whole Johns Pass village was destroyed. he pulled his 2 big boats out, and I don't know where he put them, but they're fine. His boats are fine, but everything else is destroyed.
Wow.
The restaurants there, the whole village was under 6 feet of water. These giant containers that were, in the parking lots were moved a couple hundred yards, and just all the electrical, just everything. It's just like, it's so sad.
Yeah, that's
And,
the problem is that, even though the water recedes, all the electrical boxes and stuff have all been flooded with salt water.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can't turn power back on because you've got to get all that fixed.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're just looking for a fire.
Yep. There was big fire, a house fire, because on one of the islands in Tampa, Davis Island, where Tampa General Hospital is, there was a Tesla in the garage hooked up, charging, and the whole house burned down because of the Tesla. Those lithium batteries and salt water or any water don't mix. So I don't get it. But the whole house was destroyed. You can see the fire from a couple miles because it was a big house.
Yeah, I don't understand if you have a EV vehicle, why you would leave it anywhere within 100 miles of where a storm was coming.
Yeah.
Out of there.
Get that thing out of there. Get that thing out of there because it's catching fire.
Yep. Yeah,
and you can't put it out. That's the thing about those EVs. You catch one on fire, it's not stopping. In fact, the place where I take go get my tires rotated, oil changed, all that kind of stuff, they won't even work on them anymore because they had to take all kind of special courses and stuff on how to put them on the lift properly, how to ground them properly. There's a bunch of different stuff that they had to do to even be able to work on them. And he's like, you know what? The insurance rates to have to even work on these things is not worth it. He won't even work on them anymore. He said, you have an EV and you come in there, he says, please pull out of my parking lot. Just please turn around and go away.
I don't blame him. I wouldn't own one. I've got a lithium battery for my kayak, and I know a friend of mine, she had gotten one. This is years ago when they first came out for the trolling motors. Hers caught on fire, and she was able to get near shore and jump off and pull the battery, and just, water doesn't work on a lithium battery.
No.
Nope.
So that's the crazy thing, okay? As an example, fishing rods, are coming out, the deep drop rods, electric reels, are coming out with lithium-ion batteries. My trolling motor batteries in my boat are lithium-ion batteries. I don't understand why I'm putting lithium-ion batteries in a boat.
Because they weigh a lot less and
they're
hold more charge.
They're a third of the weight and they last 10 times longer. But it's like if that thing ever catches fire, the only thing that's going to work on the boat at that point is the life vest because you're getting out of the boat.
I'm wondering
you're not stopping
if a
that
fire
thing.
extinguisher would put them out though.
No? They don't go out. They have to burn out. They're like solid rocket fuel. They have to burn themselves out.
Yep.
You can foam them.
I don't have any on mine.
You can foam them. From what I understand, you can put the firefighting foam on them. But from my understanding is they just burn until there's nothing left to burn.
Yeah, I have a lithium battery for my kayak, and it's directly underneath me in a battery box. Yeah,
so you're in the hot
seat. It weighs
seat.
16 pounds, but what my I've got, it's a Bluetooth, right? So I've got an app on my phone that I leave open, so it tracks the temperature of the battery.
Wow,
which is really cool. So it'll set off an alarm on the app if the battery gets over a certain temperature. So my phone will go off. So which is really cool.
I've got Abyss batteries in that I changed over to, and I cannot tell you how nice those things are. I mean, they are just really great batteries so far. But like you say, the weight savings alone. I have one 36-volt battery that weighs, what do you think it weighs? 20 pounds?
Less than
25
one regular battery.
Maybe 25. One Group 31.
It's like 70
AGM is 74 pounds.
Yep, I know. I've got 5 batteries on my boat.
And I had 3 Group 31s that I replaced.
One.
So I had over 200 pounds in batteries that I replaced, and now has one that weighs maybe 25 pounds.
Yeah, I'm thinking about switching over, but I just put new batteries in last year, and you got to replace the charger. You got to do
Yes,
and I've got 2 onboard chargers as well on my boat, so it's like
rewire everything.
Yeah, like,
it's always fun.
Pricey.
Oh, it is. You know what? It doesn't take long to run a bill up if you own a boat. That's for sure.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
Donald, we're glad that everybody made it in your neck of the woods made it okay. Those people over on the coast, hopefully they can get back up and running pretty soon. But we appreciate that call in because there's a lot of people over there that really were affected by this, and we're glad that some of you guys have been okay.
Yeah, we were supposed to have the CCA Tampa all release in memoriam for Captain Richard Seward this past Saturday. I mean, actually today. But it was supposed to be today. The fishing tournament, of course, it's canceled, and and wondering if because I'm signed up for the CCA banquets, the Star one, I was going to that and paid for that. So I'm wondering if, like you guys were talking about it, I'm curious to know. And I hope your friend's okay in Madison. I heard you talking about him, and
yeah, me too. Yeah. Me too. I had not heard from Lisa Fitzgerald from CCA yet, so they did cancel our local banquet, but I haven't heard about the Star banquet. But they'll probably announce that next week, I would imagine. So she'll probably give us a call on next week's show.
Yeah, all my local fishing shows.
After all the assessment and everything has been done to the Crystal River area, I think that venue's far enough away that it's okay. But there may be some issues with the hotels and things in that area where people were going to be staying that they probably have issues with capacity at this point. So we'll see. But hey, we appreciate the call this morning, and thanks so much for that update.
Absolutely. Hey, I hope you guys, everybody else is safe out there, and take care. Stay safe, tight lines.
Yeah, thank you very much, buddy.
Take care.
Bye now. Hey, gang, we're going to take our next break. When we come back, we've got a whole lot more, so don't go away. Catch Your Memories coming right back. Hey, gang, it's Starbright season. If you guys and gals haven't been out to clean your boat up after the storm, guess what? Now's a great time. Get out there, buy a bunch of the Starbright products. You know, Rodney, you were just talking about you're having some problems with your vinyl right now.
Yep.
And obviously, there's a couple of different cleaners that Justin and I use. If we do start to get a little bit of mildew to build up on it, we'll actually use the mold and mildew cleaner.
Yep.
And spray just a little bit of that on there, scrub it, and then rinse it off, because you don't really want to leave. That's not really designed to be left on the vinyl seats. And then the regular vinyl cleaner gets dirt and grime and all that stuff that gets thrown up onto your upholstery when you're driving down the road. It kind of takes all that off. And then the vinyl guard is the most important thing. I put the vinyl guard on about once every 2 weeks because it just rejuvenates. Even though I've got new vinyl, it rejuvenates the vinyl.
Smells good too.
Puts that new coating on it. And I've started, there's a couple of other things that I put it on. Put it on my trolling motor, shaft of my trolling motor.
Yep.
It helps that slide up and down a whole lot easier. I put it on my switch panel, because my switch panel on our skeeters is one big panel, and it's kind of a rubberized vinyl something. I don't even really know what the material is, but I put vinyl guard or the Ultimate Protector. There's a product called Ultimate Protector that's very similar to the vinyl guard. Put that on there because we just recently had to replace the one on the boat that Justin's running because the sun just baked it to the point where the switch panel went bad.
Gotcha.
And so putting that on there, keeping that nice and protected from the sun, UV protection from the sun, and then I put it on the hosing, the hose that my binnacle and gas lines and everything like that run through from the boat to the motor. I put it on that as well, and that keeps that from getting
dry rot
stuff.
Yeah.
You can put it on your tires or your trailer if you want to, especially the spare tire. Like our spare tires are cradled down underneath the boat, but when it's not on the trailer, it's sitting out in the sun the whole time.
Yep.
So it's side to the sun instead of parallel with the beams. It's perpendicular, so it's catching all that and rotting that tire out. So we put the vinyl guard, or they also have a rubber guard that you can put on there, and just try to do whatever we can to keep those products good. So check out the vinyl guard. Check out those other two products, the Vinyl Clean and the mold and mildew cleaner. Those three are that's my top three things that I'm using right now.
Gotcha.
Try and keep the stuff in decent shape. And you can find it all at starbright.com or your local retailer. Ace in Titusville's got a huge supply of Starbright stuff, so that's one of the places that you guys and gals can go find it. Also, Boaters Exchange in Rockledge has got a good supply of that as well. So check them out. Hey, you know, we got a bunch of stuff coming up, guys. We got a Take Kids Fishing Clinic going on.
Yeah, that is coming up. I forgot about that one.
So we've got the P&K Altman Foundation one that's going on in Titusville for kids 8 to 12. That's on October the 12th at Fox Lake Park. At this one, we're actually going to be giving away a charter with me, a half-day charter with me. One of my customers, one of Justin's and my customers, Mike Phelps, he had a 3-day deposit down. He was going to come fish 3 days. He's run into some health issues, and he's like, you know what? If you have the opportunity to take a kid fishing, just take that money and put it towards taking the kid fishing. So he put those 3 days worth of deposits down, and when he gets in better health, we'll get him back out. And so Justin and I have got some really, really good clients out there. And so we want to appreciate him for putting this charter promotion together for the P&K Altman Foundation Take a Kid Fishing Clinic. And you guys can, it's real easy to get signed up for this. They're only taking 40 kids. So it's going to be kind of a small, highly focused event on getting the kids up to speed on knot tying and proper fishing practices. Anybody out there that wants to help out with this is invited to join as well. It's going to be from 8 o'clock until noon on October the 12th at Fox Lake Park. And to get some more information or get involved with it, get your child involved with it, go to altmanac at cfl.rr.com. That's ALTMANS AC, Altmans at cfl.rr.com. And you should see a confirmation come back to you pretty soon if there's any spots left. So that's really cool. They're going to be giving away Zebco rods and reels to all of the kids there. I've got some Bass Assassin product we're going to be giving away as well. So a bunch of goodies for the kids to be able to take home with them.
Awesome.
And then of course, you know, there's going to be a drawing for the charter. So that's a cool one. The other thing that we have going on is the following weekend is the 29th annual Port Canaveral Kids Fishing Clinic.
Yep.
Can't believe that's been going on almost 30 years.
It's crazy.
That's on the 19th of October at Jetty Park from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Children must be accompanied by an adult. There's going to be a maximum of about 300 kids, anywhere from 5 to 15. You can go to fsfaclub.org and sign up for that. But once again, fish identification, how to throw a cast net, fishing equipment and bait is provided, free food and refreshments. So it's going to be 2 weekends of getting the kids out there back to back. It's going to be pretty cool. And then the last thing that we have going on we need to talk about is on November the 9th, Boaters Exchange is having an in-water boat show at the O'Galley
cool.
Yacht Club. Yeah. So this is going to be pretty cool. This is not a just come and show up kind of thing. The O'Galley Yacht Club is a private club. So you have to make an appointment to be on one of the boats. But they're going to have an Everglades 335.
Okay. Big girl.
There, big boat. They're going to have the new Cobia 2850. And that boat, I was over at Boaters Exchange the other day as that boat was being delivered. The first 285 came in. That is a sweet machine.
Nice boat.
That is a really nice boat. That one they have, it's got twin 300s on it. You look at the layout and you just go, you know what? Somebody got this one right.
They're listening.
Yeah.
Somebody was listening to somebody that fishes, because there's a lot of boats out there that you go, well, if this was there and that was there, and if they'd have done this like this, this would be a better boat. You can climb on that 2850 or that 285 Cobia. You're not going to be saying a whole lot of that. You're going to be going, oh, look at that. Oh, somebody was paying attention.
They got it right.
They did. I was really impressed with that boat. So you're going to be able to take these boats for a ride on Saturday, November the 3rd. They're doing that from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. They're also going to have a 24 TRS Pathfinder there. and an 18 Maverick HPX for the guys who like to get skinny and pull a boat around. So there's something for everybody. It's real easy to secure your demo ride. Just give Boaters Exchange a call, 321-638-0090. That's 638-0090. And that's going to be at the O'Galley Yacht Club Saturday, November 9th. So some good stuff coming up with the kids' clinics and with this outing for those of you that may be in the market for a new boat. And like I said, just some good stuff out there. So hopefully you guys and gals will get involved. You know what, we were talking about how to properly rig for fishing on the jetty at Canaveral, and I was just thinking I do the same thing at Sebastian. I don't fish ponce much, but it would apply to ponce as well. You know, Justin and I use a lot of jig heads. We really do. We use knocker rigs and we use jig heads. We even
the smaller baits.
Yeah, we
jig
use
heads for smaller baits.
I use jig heads on my croakers.
On croakers, gotcha.
Assassin makes a 1/2 ounce and a 3/4 ounce jig head.
Is it a long shank hook or
and
a short shank?
It's a 5/0 hook, and it's sort of it's like a cross between a boxing glove and a stand-up jig.
Okay.
It's sort of a stand-up / arrowhead, if you will.
Yeah.
But it goes through the rocks.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't get hung very easily.
Gotcha.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
The head design that we found on this particular one that Assassin makes just seems to work well. And, you know, Justin and I both use those jig heads a lot when we're fishing croakers. Because croakers have a tendency to want to twirl. And
Yeah.
if you get them on a knocker rig, sometimes they'll twirl
Twist
the
up.
rig up.
Mhm.
And the jig head just seems to act like a keel.
Yeah.
And we'll actually cast them and retrieve them and fish them like a lure, even though it's a live bait.
Yep.
I know, Justin, you know, you do a lot of that too.
Yeah, we like we were saying, I find that when I'm using either smaller baits or croakers, a jig head tends to work better, and then stuff like pogies and full size mullet and stuff like that, the knocker works a little bit better. But yeah, if you can kind of bounce that croaker along, you know, when you fish, it's not as big a deal in the port, but when you fish something that has tide and you're casting, you can feel as you're tumbling down those rocks. And so you kind of have to get the feel for, okay, that was a rock or that was a bite.
Yep.
But if you're just kind of lifting it and having it flow over those rocks and continue going on the way, that works pretty good.
Yeah.
And like you said, that head shape of the jig head is almost pointed. And so it slides off the rocks very nicely rather than wanting to get up in them and
hang.
Yeah.
I find that especially the fish, I guess you would call them fish head styles, like a spro jig.
Yep.
Okay. Spro jigs work great when there's no structure around.
Yeah.
But you get them near structure, they hang in it every time. every time.
The hook ties to the middle of the jig head too,
head.
so it doesn't pull like this. It pulls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It pulls differently, and those things. Not that they don't work, but golly, you lose a bunch of them because they hang up so much.
I'll tell you what else. This is more of an offshore thing, but not those jig heads, but the bigger ones, the bigger orange ones we get that are more rounded. We use those a lot for bottom fishing.
Yep.
And some days that will make a huge difference between that and a knocker rig.
Yep.
Even just that little bit of color, that little bit of red that's on the front, can sometimes be a big deal.
So offshore bottom fishing or nearshore bottom fishing, I don't use a knocker rig to fish on the bottom. If I'm using a knocker rig, I'm using light enough where it's moving and kind of floating in a sense, but it's getting the bait down in that strike zone. That's if I'm fishing on the bottom, I don't like my weight right up against my hook personally.
Yeah.
See, that's the only way I fish.
Now flounder fishing is different. Now it's different if I'm flounder fishing.
Well, I'm targeting, mainly trying to target flounder.
Yep.
But that particular, if you switch to a knocker rig and start fishing some of the wrecks,
catch more flounder.
You're going to catch more snook too.
More snook.
Yeah. Snook and big reds.
We catch a lot of snook on the
I have not fished many of the wrecks and caught snook other than
because you're rigged
one specific wreck. but
It wasn't until I switched to a knocker.
really,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah. Started and he actually turned me on to it. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're catching snook. We're catching."
I had one day
redfish
that I was fishing.
Well, hold on, because we got to take a break, and then we'll come back and talk about that, because we got to get this break out of the way. We're gonna be right back, gang. Don't go away. We got Justin coming up next with the snook and redfish tricks to get you on those wreck fish. Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch Memory Outdoors. This segment of the show is brought to you by Strike Zone. I was actually down at Strike Zone picking up a couple of thises and that's the other day. New rod ball, I guess you call it, rod holder ball that slides on the end of your rod bud cap
butt
ball.
Head, whatever it's called. Yep.
Got a new one of those. Got some corkscrews from a little 3-inch Assassins. You know, the other thing I don't know where I put them. Double barrel crimps for my 150 and 200. I had the 250s, the 250 pound size. But
Goliath grouper fishing?
No, man, that's what we're putting on our chuggers.
You
put 150 or 200 on you put a little short piece of that heavy.
The big sharks.
Yeah, that keeps the sharks from taking them as easily. So
I'll have to show you. I've got the samples in the new popping rods meant for tuna fishing with poppers, but they're sweet. 8-footers, up to like 120 pound braid. They're not like a meat stick feeling whatsoever.
They're nice and light.
Oh yeah. So,
what's the price point on those?
$280 retail. So it's the new Outrage series from Daiwa.
That's not even that bad.
That's not bad at all.
Nope. It's funny. They're bringing out rods, jigging rods, and they're throwing some of these popping rods because it seems like that same class of fishermen that likes to do a lot of the jigging also likes throwing the poppers and stuff. So,
well, when you're out there, you need something for the bottom and something for the top.
Yep.
You know, that's those explodes. The Rapala explodes
as the best popper ever.
Exactly.
We take them out and we fish them over the reefs. We fish them over the wrecks. We fish them along the surf.
Yep.
Fish them in the bait pond.
And you know what?
In the bait
I
pond,
remember when I first saw the drawings of them, and I'm like, we need those here. What? And I'm like, and we need the smaller one first.
Yeah.
They brought the big ones first. I was like, we need the smaller one. And those 6X Spark Point treble hooks are awesome hooks.
Yeah.
Those are awesome
Except
hooks.
when you get a shark.
Well, no hook's good when you get a shark, getting them out, right?
So we've been taking the hooks off of them.
Putting singles?
And putting a single, just one
on the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all you need.
That would make sense,
to get,
I'll be honest with you.
The spinners and the black tips will absolutely hammer that thing.
Whitmire, Troy Perez, my wife and I went and filled, my wife had tags for puzzle. And the way we do some of that on the gators, I'm like, man, I tell you, it would be a blast to throw one of those big Rapala explodes out there and hook an alligator on that.
Oh, yeah.
So when I was a kid, and allegedly,
this is a make-believe story.
Yeah, this is
fiction.
This is pure fiction, but creek chub darters.
Oh yeah,
and things like that.
Yep.
Alligators seem to
love
like those, or so I've heard.
Yep.
In your dreams, right?
Buzz baits.
But they seem to like those.
They like those.
Yeah. So I would assume that if you've got a tag to catch an alligator, I would assume an explode would be pretty good.
Yep. But that's neat stuff.
I couldn't be for sure.
You don't know for sure.
I don't know for sure.
Well, that's interesting.
That was a long time ago.
It's interesting talking about fishing knocker rigs versus other stuff. Because the way I bottom fish, I use a much different rig.
On some of the wrecks and some of the reef balls and
so
pyramids
I'm a big fan, and a lot of people won't like this, but I'm a big fan of catching red snapper. I love catching red snapper.
They're a blast.
I think they're a ton of fun, and if I have people on the boat that just want to pull on something and aren't worried about taking something home, that is my go-to.
But listen, dude, you need, and the listeners, you're fishing shallower water. You're not hurting these fish. You're not getting sharked on a regular basis.
We're never more than 90 feet.
So it's a much different scenario.
I think we have a sequelizer and a vending tool.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think in the last 3 years, I can honestly say that one fish has not kicked off.
Yeah.
And been good.
Yep.
I mean, sure, some of them you let them go, and you got to go vent them. You got to go grab them again, vent them. That happens all the time, but that's no problem. And they kick off again, and they're good. But anyway, so I love catching red snappers, so I'm bottom fishing some of the wrecks. And typically I don't like to be right on the bottom. I like to be 2 to 3 feet above it.
Give you a little bit more of a chance to get them up.
And I started catching a lot of big snook and big reds on that knocker rig.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's some days it's sort of a one here, one there thing.
Yeah.
But there are days you can mark them down there, and you can. I had the day that he was talking about. It was every drop. You would drop it down. So I'd hook one bait up, hand rod off to a customer, tell him drop it to the bottom. Be hooking the other bait up, hand it off, and the first guy's already got one. He got thumped, and he's pulling up. It's either a redfish or a snook, and they were 35 inches or better.
Wow.
Every single
cool.
one of them. Yep. And so he'd pull his up, and we'd get pictures, get in a hooked, and the next guy gets thumped, and he's pulling up another one. And it's back and forth like that all for, I mean, we had probably 2.5 hours of it.
Wow.
We caught so many that they were like, can we go try to do something else? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. You know, if y'all are, they're like, my arms are getting kind of sore.
You love that. You gotta love that when it stays like that.
So it's really fun when you can find them like that. And they will school up really heavily on some of those nearshore wrecks.
Well, they do that down south quite a bit. Like the Jupiter, Stewart area on those wrecks.
And even places like 8A. You know, if you pull up on 8A, you can mark those fish and then set up current from them. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting because when you start catching them, the fish that you hook immediately start struggling and spitting up whatever they had.
Yep.
Well, there's your chum slick.
Yep.
So you can keep catching fish.
You're talking about snapper now.
Snapper, reds,
all of them,
snook, black drum, all of them. And you keep catching those fish until the shark shows up. And when the shark shows up, then it's okay, you're done.
You gotta move.
Yep.
Because he's not going away.
Nope.
He just
not anymore.
Nope. He'll bring 3 friends.
Yep.
And none of them will
So
go
I found during the snapper season, and I found other times fishing, it takes longer for them to locate you at night. Why? Because I know I'm not sure, because they're more scent oriented than anything, or sound.
Yeah.
And I leave the motor running in the spot lock, but I usually leave, especially at night. It just makes me feel more comfortable with the motor running.
Right.
But I found it takes a lot longer for them to find. So, but I've been talking to some of the different guys, you know, charter guys, and just Pelican and 8A and even Benson stuff, trying to kingfish is just about near impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just can't
sharks
get them to the boat in time.
Well, those, you know, those big inboards, they key in on those quick.
I'll turn my motor off out on the reef during the day.
If we're fishing on a piece of bottom, and we're circling that piece of bottom, we'll catch 3, 4, 5 fish. The second that one of the inboard diesels pulls up,
shark,
you're done.
Yep.
You're done. You gotta go. You have to just move.
Yep.
Because they hear that sound and they come straight up, and then you don't land another fish.
Yep. Or if you're the only boat out on the reef. I've been the only boat out on one of the reefs, and all of a sudden you look down, there's 2, 3 of them. It's like, oh,
yeah,
can't fish here. So
makes it very difficult. You know, we didn't do the catch conditions and give everybody an idea of what's going to go on.
The speed run version.
Speed run, yeah.
So today we have south winds from 10 knots becoming southwest at 10 by tonight. Season side at 20 miles. We're supposed to be 3 feet with a dominant period of 11 to 12 seconds, 3 to 4 feet. Ponce buoy is 83 degrees, 3 foot at 13 seconds. Current condition at the 4-mile weather buoy off Port Canaveral. Water temp is 84 degrees. Seas are 2 feet with a period of 10 seconds. 20-mile weather buoy off of Canaveral. We have a water temp of 84. Seas are 3 at 10. The 6-mile buoy off of Fort Pierce. Water temp is 85. Seas are 3 feet at 11. The western edge of the Gulf Stream is 45 east of Ponce, 32 east of Canaveral, and 26 east of Sebastian. Current surf temp at Ponce is 82, Cocoa Beach is 84, and Sebastian is 84. Our tides for today, we have a low at 11:25 a.m., a high at 6 p.m., and a low at 12:15 a.m. for Port Canaveral. And then at Sebastian, a low of 11:50, a high of 6:04 p.m., and a low of 12:17 a.m. And our Solunar tables, best time to fish, presented by All About Archery, is 9:25 a.m. to 11:25 a.m. for the major, and 9:52 p.m. to 11:52 p.m. for the other major, and then 4:47 p.m. to 5:47 p.m. for the minor.
it's going to be a good weekend. Guys and gals, get out there, enjoy the woods, enjoy the water, and do exactly what Rodney and myself and Captain Justin are going to do. Catch yourselves a minute.